3, 2.
Joseph,
What's up, man?
how you doing, buddy?
You know I'm doing amazing as always.
That's good, man. That's good, man. Hey, you want to get us some intro music?
Oh, yes.
Let's do it. Woo! Love it. Love it. Love
That's
it.
a lot sooner than I remember.
Well, it's been a while since we did one of these.
I know. I'm excited, though. We're back at it again.
I know. And in 2023 on a good note, getting ready for 2024. Most likely this will be our last episode for the year. I think we shot some pretty good content, for our first time doing a podcast. And I look forward to some great things in 2024. I'm hoping and I'm suspecting we'll be a lot more, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot more, active. Yeah. On this, with our Socratic Sports. And you can check us out, on, where we at? Spotify, Apple Music.
We are, Apple Podcasts.
There you go.
YouTube.
Yep. Socratic Sports. Instagram.
Beautiful faces. That's where you go.
Instagram, Socratic Sports 22. So yeah, check us out, man. So we're gonna roll into some Socratic news. First up, just got the notification from ESPN. Draymond Green has been suspended indefinitely for his incident. That was great. What happened last night, as he threw the wildest Mike Tyson sucker punch. So yeah, I mean, what do you think? Indefinitely. I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Yeah. So if you just look at it in a vacuum, and given how many suspensions he's had this year, I see why the league suspended him indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the bigger question is, did he deserve to get ejected last night?
Like after the play?
Yeah, because it ultimately comes down to, because in order for them to they called it a flagrant run, and it has to be, they basically had to find it egregious and feel like there was malintent.
Well, it was a flagrant 2.
Well, they upgraded to a flagrant 2.
Yeah, it was a flagrant 2. That's why he got
ejected. Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what it comes down to. I will give him credit. He was way more remorseful about it than he typically is. And when I watched the play,
did you really watch the play?
I swear on my life.
It was a flop that turned into the wildest sucker punch I've ever seen, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I agree with you that he was trying to flop, but I don't think he meant to hit Yusuf that hard.
He hit him hard.
I was like, when you see Draymond's other flagrants, there definitely looks like malintent. Yeah. This one looked like a genuine accident.
I mean, I don't know who's in second with flagrant fouls. I know he has more than 15. I don't know the number, but I know it's up there in the double digits. I don't know who's after him. But no one, and I mean no one, gets more flagrant fouls as this dude. And maybe it's, what's funny? I was listening to Get Up on ESPN this morning. And I think Jeff Saturday said it to where, and this is a football guy saying like, hey, it's only but so much that players can take, because then we start taking things into our own hand. So if Draymond is known for, swinging like that and hitting, what stops players from turning into the what was it? What's the name of it? The Palace at the Malice, the Pistons. Yeah, like what's stopping it from turning into that, And so I think this suspension indefinitely is okay. Like the NBA felt like they had to take this into their hands in order to calm down, the talk around him, to calm down Draymond himself, and just to get, things in order. This is not the WWE. Like, you can't be out here. This is not the UFC. Like, this is not a combination of boxing and NBA. Like, we're not doing that. But Draymond, he's just on another level with that. I personally think it's okay. If you read the comments and stuff like that, you have some people saying, oh, that's not fair. Then you have some people saying, well, good that he did it. Everybody's going to have their opinion. I think just because of it's the NBA, he's done it. I'll put it like this: us being normal working people. When I say normal working people, we don't get a 10-year, $700 million contract. But but us normal working people, if we're late 3 times, we get written up. If we continue to be late, we're going to get fired. And so that's what happened. And he's keep repeating himself with these flagrant fouls. And I think the NBA had to do what they had to do. So I don't have a problem with it.
So, just to wrap it up real fast, I agree with you. I think it was the right call by the NBA.
Uh-huh.
I just, unfortunately, happened on a foul that I don't personally think was a flagrant too.
I hear you. Yeah.
I don't agree with that call. I understand his reputation.
Yeah. And I think that's why it was a flagrant too.
Exactly. And that's another topic for another day is that fair? Because the same thing happens with that Denver Broncos player whose name escapes me right now, but he keeps getting suspensions. Because he makes a couple big plays. And now they're, he kind of gets looked at as that's his reputation. But nonetheless, I will be interested to see what it does to the Warriors record, like how they perform without Draymond. And I am interested to see what it does for Warriors viewership.
Yeah.
Because that's also something to take into consideration is without Draymond on the court, you got Steph, you got Clay. I think there's a handful of people that go to watch Draymond. And
yeah. So valid points. Good points. In other news, Cam Newton said on an interview yesterday that he believes that Purdy, Tua, Goff, and Prescott are game managers and not difference makers. What say you, Joseph?
I think Cam Newton, with all respect, he's a better athlete than I am. I just want to say that. Needs to remember that it's not 2015. He is not the MVP anymore. And maybe if he tried to get that fumble in the Super Bowl 50, he'd be a Super Bowl champ. Listen, I don't understand it. They need to define what a game manager is.
Yeah.
Because I see Purdy, who right now, spoiler alert, probably is going to win the MVP, barring any collapse. Do I agree he's the MVP? That's another conversation.
Real quick, who's your MVP? Real quick.
CJ Stroud. I will explain further later on in the show. I see Tua.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, they lost to the Titans. That was a bad loss. And yes, he has Tyreek Hill. But he has been balling out, in my opinion. And I see Goff and Prescott. Prescott, who I don't think it's any secret the disdain I hold toward the Cowboys. But he's been playing well.
Yeah.
What I feel like Cam's actually saying is I feel like he's saying that they have all these superstars around them. And because of that, I mean, basically they just need to not make a horrible pass. I don't necessarily agree with that. I can see where he comes a little bit from Purdy. But I mean, Tua, he's got Tyreek Hill. He's got Jalen Waddle. But I mean, he's still throwing some bombs. And look, when you put up 70 points on a team, that's not a game manager, right? Like, you need to make plays.
Yeah.
I mean, Goff, you could say he has St. Brown, but my question would be, is St. Brown the same receiver if Goff's not throwing to him? So, I don't know. I don't agree with it. think Cam is a little salty, and I don't know what's going on. I don't know if he's still planning to come back to the NFL. But no, I think all those quarterbacks are, I'm not going to say superstars, but they're very, very good quarterbacks. And I think if you put another quarterback in most of those systems, they wouldn't have the same success.
So let me start by saying that I don't know if Cam Newton said that in the sense of, you know, he knows what a difference maker is because he was a difference maker. And he wasn't a game manager. And the only reason I bring that up, because if he is saying that he was a difference maker, on his feet, he did a great job. I'm not denying that. He was, you know, supposed to have been the next Michael Vick. Maybe he was. You know, he stole the show. I'm not denying what he did, right?
He was an MVP.
He was an MVP. Like, again, I'm not denying it, right? But if we talking about difference makers who win in this league, Cam Newton record as a starter, 76 and 71. 76 wins, 71 losses, and 1 tie. And so, to me, when I hear that, that doesn't scream that you're a difference maker, okay? So, again, if he's speaking from that he thinks his experience, that he's a difference maker, slow down, buddy, all right? Now, if he's saying this just from hey, this is what I see in watching it, I can kind of see where he's coming from because the league is way different now, right? But and obviously 49ers fan, Team Purdy all the way, right? But why, to me, I'll start with Purdy. Why is he a difference maker? Because he was a 7th round quarterback and now in talks of being an MVP and possibly going to the Super Bowl in his 2nd year. That is
it's
a difference
amazing story. Yeah,
it is, and
it's
that is
an unbelievable story.
Yes, and that speaks volumes for a difference maker, because you're now telling NFL execs that, hey, we don't need to 1st round best quarterback, and you know, I mean, you don't look at Bryce Young right now. Look at Anthony Richardson. But we got a 7th round pick that's leading us, that may be able to lead us to the promised land. That is a difference maker. Goff, you know, couldn't make it work in LA with the Rams, goes to Detroit. We know the history of Detroit and changes that whole system around. Tua in Miami, what he do? He had a rough year, you know, with the concussion protocols, worked his butt off, and now he's also in the talk of being an MVP. Having Tyreek Hill, having Waddle, having this powerful offense. Do they make mistakes and do they lose games? It's part of the game. Like, no one is going to win every game, Cam Newton. But, you know, they're making the difference, okay? Dak Prescott, again, another front runner for the MVP. He's making a difference on these. They are all making impacts, and they are difference makers for these teams. You put in Cooper Rush or Trey Lance on the Cowboys, you will not get the same result. So what are you talking about? So yeah, I don't agree with that. Again, Cam Newton played this role very, very well of getting people to talk about this, because look, we're talking about it, and you know, just to talk about his craziness, and so yeah, I don't agree with those statements at all. So okay, I got that out of my system. You talk about Purdy, you feel like you're attacking a lot of people over here. Let's go into other news.
A rough MVP conversation then.
Yeah. We're going to get there. Don't worry. In other news, talk about Belichick being his last year as the Patriots coach. You know, he did an interview today and he said, hey, I'm concentrating on Kansas City. I forgot who they play this week. But he was like, we're concentrating on Kansas. I think it was Kansas City.
The Patriots are playing Kansas City.
Yeah. And so he didn't pay those. He dodged those questions. He didn't want to talk about it. And so my first question, yes, is this Belichick's last season, you think? And do we include Tomlin in this conversation too?
So yes to Belichick.
Okay.
If the question is, do I think it's Mike Tomlin's last year? I'm gonna say no.
Okay.
Just based on how the Pittsburgh Steelers run their organization. And also, should it? I'm also gonna say no.
Okay.
Unless Tomlin wants to step away and wants a different pasture, I don't think Tomlin would deserve to be fired. I think he is. Look, Pittsburgh Steelers are still in a running for the playoff spot, which is kind of amazing if you've ever watched them play this year.
Oh my God, it is rough watching them play.
And I also think he got talked into drafting Pickett. I don't believe that Tomlin wanted Pickett. I just get that feeling. With Bill, I mentioned this. You probably maybe you remember, maybe the few audience remembers. We were at the end of the NBA season. We were talking about, is this time for Doc to move on?
Mm-hmm.
And I said yes. I think that Doc and the 76ers, while there's great players and he's a great coach, it's at a certain point you have to acknowledge that what we've done has run its course. And it's time for a different voice. It's just time to see where things go with something else. And they did. The 76ers moved on. They got Nick Nurse. Doc went somewhere. Help me, remind me. Did he go somewhere?
No, he's like commentating or something like right now. He's doing like ESPN or something like that.
I think he'll get a coaching job next year. I feel the same way about the Patriots. I think Bill. I mean, what more do you want? You got 24 years, 23, 24 years out of the guy. You got 6 Super Bowls. I think it's time. I don't think Bill and Mac, if you want to continue with Mac, I don't think Bill's the guy for you. I think you need a younger voice in there. And I think it's time just for both of them. So, yes, I think Bill will be gone.
Yeah, if Bill can adapt, then I think he stays. And what I mean by that is, he's the one that he does the scouting, he does the draft picks, he does everything, But as you get older, we all need help. It just comes with that territory. And I think that's what he needs. But is he stuck in his ways to where he doesn't want to accept that help? And if that is the case, then yeah, he needs to walk away, because you're not doing the Patriots, the fans, the owners, everybody, the players, you're not doing them any justice by continuing to do the same thing over and over again. And unfortunately, it's hit its course this year. With the record that they have and the way that they are playing. But if he can adapt and get some help and have him, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but I mean, he was in the draft. He did the draft and he had his dog with him in a cabin by himself. Yeah, it's just like, dude. But again, if he had a room like it's normally done where you have execs and people and help and other set of eyes, to do this drafting and scouting and stuff like that, I think he can still, his legacy, his 6 Super Bowl rings speak value, and with the Patriots. And I think he definitely can still be an asset if he wants to help. If he doesn't, then yes, move on. The only reason I brought up Tomlin, even though this wasn't talked about, is because I read a report somewhere that Roethlisberger spoke about this, and he said that he felt like Roethlisberger is losing that Steeler, I guess, passion or that grit or whatever the Steelers had is no longer there. And again, it starts from the coach down. And if Tomlin doesn't have the room anymore, if he doesn't have that bite, that fight, that dog in him, then what's stopping him from, I'm not saying retiring, but just moving on, He's a great coach with a great mind. He'll he'll be the first one on anybody's list. And again, he's the longest tenured coach, if I'm not mistaken, for a team. And so he can make a big impact anywhere. But again, if you have former players speaking out on you, because they know that locker room, they've been around him a long time, and they see something different, there is some truth to it, maybe. And, do I think this will be his last season? I want to say no, because again, it's just so much. But I can tell you, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. And it just becomes like a restart for the Steelers. New coach, new quarterback, new everything. Get ready for the next 5 years, trying to figure something out. But I can tell you this much: because of all the years that Tomlin has spent with the Steelers, that are to have like a rebrand or just start over from scratch. I don't think he has that 5 years to just do that over again. So, and I think you're gonna love me for saying this, and mark it down. I love my predictions, right? If he does move on, I think he goes to the West and coach your best friend. I think that I've been thinking about that.
You're right. I would be elated.
And we're talking about the Chargers right now. If you don't know, guys,
defensive-minded coach. Allegedly, Staley is. I don't know if you watch the Chargers this year.
Yeah, it's rough.
That's pretty suspect.
Yeah.
So, I think he would trust Justin to do his thing.
Yeah.
And he would take care of that defense. I would love that.
Yeah, and again, because again, Staley is not sticking around this. If he sticks around, this
should be gone now.
Yeah,
Staley should be gone now.
It'll be a travesty if he comes back next year. But I can tell you, when he's not there, which I think we both believe he won't be there, and if Tomlin steps away from the Steelers, that I believe that give him another great quarterback, give him that team that he can. The Steelers are great. The Chargers are great.
Chargers, they have all the talent in the world.
They have all the talent. They just need that right coach, and I think Tomlin is that coach right there. So mark it, 2024. If all this works out, like I say, Tomlin will be the coach of the Chargers next year.
So to connect it and bring it full circle, if Mr. Belichick leaves the Patriots, honestly, where I think would be a good fit for him?
What's that?
The Steelers. Because I don't feel like the Steelers, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I don't feel like the Steelers are in rebuild.
Okay.
With the defense they have, they can win.
Mm-hmm. But with that offense they have.
So that, and that's what I was getting to is you don't need Pickett to be Brady. You just need him to be efficient. And someone's got to get Najee Harris going, and they got to get everything that happened with Deontay Johnson. That's his last name, Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And just everything. There's a lot of drama. I agree with you. There's a lot of drama right now with that locker room. We typically don't see out of Mike Tomlin locker room,
right?
But I think Bill will be able to come in and just kind of regroup them, and move forward. So
yeah,
we'll see. It's going to be
an
interesting offseason for both of those teams, especially if the Steelers do somehow make the playoffs. I don't know if that will make a difference.
Yeah. And that leads us into other news after this. So we have the Bills, we have the Bengals, we have the Broncos, we have the Texans, we have the Colts, and we have the Steelers, all at 7-6. 2 wild card spots left. Who you got, Joseph?
All right, so Bills for sure.
Okay.
I think the win from KC builds a lot of momentum.
Okay.
I hope they beat the Cowboys this weekend. It's in Orchard Park, so they got a good chance. And then I would have said the Texans, but I don't know what's going on with
Stroud.
With Stroud's concussion and how bad it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to go with the Colts.
Wow. Okay.
I will believe in Minshew Mania. I don't think they make it out of the first round of the playoffs, but I think they sneak in as that last seed, as the 7th seed.
Okay.
Oh, and I guess there would have to be because nobody's locked in as the fifth, sixth, or seventh seed right now.
No, there is nothing locked in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Broncos. I would also. I do believe what the Broncos got going on.
Okay.
You know what? Sorry, take that back. I think the Browns find a way to sneak in, and I think the Browns knock the Colts out.
So you have Browns and Bills.
Browns, Bills, and Broncos.
3? Okay.
Yeah. And the only reason is because the Broncos hold the tiebreaker over the Browns right now
Okay.
from head to head.
Okay. So, the Bills, I will put it like this. If they beat the Cowboys, I agree with you. I think that'd be an even bigger victory than Kansas City because Kansas City is not Kansas City like we once knew. And so, but the Cowboys are the Kansas City Chiefs of the NFC, right? Like they've been the last couple of years. I think so. With that,
What do you mean by that?
Well, when Kansas City had, Cheetah, when they had, I mean, they still got Kelsey, but that combination of just having deep threats and, just explosive offense,
Okay.
that's what Dallas is right now.
That's fair.
Okay. With CD Lamb, with Schultz, with what's the little fads? Cooks.
Brandon Cooks.
And so they have those weapons. Obviously I would love, and you called it earlier, you said it, Purdy MVP, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dak got that MVP because he's on another level right now. So I'm not too sure about Buffalo. Again, if we're looking at, and the only reason I say that, they have the Cowboys, they have the Chargers, which, who knows what'll happen, but they should beat them. They have the Patriots, and then their last game, they have the Dolphins. Now, that last game against the Dolphins, sometimes if the Dolphins or the Bills was ahead, this game wouldn't matter. But with that recent loss that they just lost to Tennessee, Miami, every game is going to count for them to get a good seed. So I think that last game is going to be a huge game determining where it is seeding at with them or who gets in. Also, the Broncos, they have a pretty reasonable. So they play the Lions, who again just lost. So what's going on with the Lions? Who knows? They lost to Chicago. Like, you don't know what's going to happen. And then they play the Patriots, the Chargers, and then the Raiders. Again, that's the out of all of that, the Lions is the toughest matchup. It's on the road. And so not too sure about that. Houston, again, with CJ being, like we just talked about, but they have the Titans twice, who just beat Miami. And then they have the Browns and the Colts, who is playing, who has that schedule. I don't know what to think about with Texans. They had a good stretch with CJ Stroud being hurt, with their top wide receiver being down. They have a pretty good defense. Again, just don't know what to expect from them. The Colts, they play the Steelers. We know how the Steelers play. They play the Falcons. Falcons are trying to get a last spot also. Then they play the Raiders, and then they play the Texans. So I kind of agree with you there. I think the Colts have the easier schedule down the stretch to get into the playoffs. I can definitely see them making some noise. Minshew Mania is a real deal. So yeah, but again, look back at the Colts. They just got demolished by the Bengals, So that's another tough one. And then the Bengals, again, the Bengals are Browning is he's using the weapons. He's doing a great job. Mm-hmm. Will it continue to be like that? I don't know. They play the Vikings. We was all on Dobbs. Now he's trickled down a little bit. It's died down.
He's not even starting on the next game.
Oh, is he not? Oh, yeah, I didn't know that.
Announced.
I didn't
Keep
know that.
keep going. I'll look it up. They
Okay.
announced.
Then they have the Steelers, they have the Chiefs, and then they have the Browns. So out of all these teams, the Bengals, I would say, has the toughest schedule. And so it's gonna be a tough stretch. If I had to choose, again, the Steelers, they just look. I mean, it's tough to watch their games. They play the Seahawks, the Bengals, the Colts, the Ravens. They have the toughest schedule. They have a tough schedule too. I think the Bengals have the toughest schedule, and I think that the Steelers has the next toughest schedule. If the Bills beat the Cowboys, the Bills are in, and if they get this momentum, they are dangerous in the AFC playoff picture. And then I'm gonna roll with the Broncos. So I'm gonna say Bills, Broncos. After that, I'm gonna go Bills, Broncos, Bengals as my final three.
So cool, respect it. First thing, Nick Mullins is starting for the Vikings against the Bengals. So used to be on the Niners a little while ago, if I remember correctly. I think he was part of that rotating quarterback carousel y'all had in 2018, I want to say.
Yeah.
So I am surprised. I know we got a couple more topics. I am surprised you didn't mention the Browns at all, because currently the Browns do sit the 5th seed. So the Browns are in the driver's seat. And let me read you off the Browns' schedule right now. They played the Bears this week, and then the Texans, who may or may not have Stroud, then the Jets, then the Bengals.
Okay.
And one last note about the Bengals. Jake Browning is a good quarterback. So I watched him when he played at the University of Washington. I was shocked that he went undrafted. He's legit. Is he legit enough to get over the Browns that may or may not be fighting for a playoff seed? I don't think so. But yeah, I think the Browns are going to be the ones who kind of throw the wrench in all that. So we'll see. So I had Browns, Broncos, Bills. Well, I think I'll have Bills, Broncos, Browns. So the Browns coming in as the 7th seed. And then one more time,
I had the Bengals.
Okay.
The Colts and
the Bills.
Bills, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. It'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting race towards the end. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah. And so right now, and so the reason why I didn't mention the Browns, because if we look at it, so yeah, the Browns. So right now, currently, and then this will lead into our next topic. So, is the Ravens the team to beat in the AFC, and is the Niners the team to beat in the NFC? Now, the reason why I asked that is because if we look at the AFC, so we have the Ravens, we have the Dolphins at 2, Chiefs at 3, Jags at 4, Browns at 5, Steelers at 6, Colts at 7. Ravens at the top, like I mentioned, at 10-3. They're not going anywhere. I think they stay up there. But are they the team to beat? Obviously, we know how the Chiefs are, but the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl last year. So you got to give respect where respect is due. But again, is Baltimore the team to beat?
So I'm going to say no to Baltimore. I will say yes to the Niners.
Okay.
So no to Baltimore. So
who is
in the AFC?
Mm-hmm.
Who's the team to beat in the AFC?
Yeah, if it's not the Ravens, excuse me.
So this is kind of like way projecting the future, but quite honestly, if the Bills make the playoffs, I think the Bills are the team to beat. If the Bills don't make the playoffs, like you said, it's hard to bet against a 2-time Super Bowl champion. I got to go with the Chiefs. Because unfortunately, as much as I respect Lamar and I respect the Ravens, they have vastly underperformed in the playoffs when the time counts. And Mahomes has performed. So I got to go with that.
Sorry, I keep sneezing, so I keep turning the mic off. But if the Bills have a great stretch, I agree with you. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
You're good, man.
Oh, okay. So Christmas Day, Niners versus Ravens.
Okay.
I think that game will determine a lot. Ravens had a last-minute punt return
for a touchdown.
Yeah. Again, who was that against?
The Rams.
The Rams. They had to go into OT against the Rams. I think they are winning games. I don't think they've played anybody where we're like, oh my God, like the Ravens again. Because again, if you look at the NFC in these past few weeks, the conversations has been about the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. Yeah. All NFC. There has been no talk about the AFC and the Ravens. Even the Chiefs losing has been more talk about the Ravens winning. And that's because, again, they're winning, but they're not winning games to where we're like, oh my God, the Ravens did it again.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. Again, if take away that offsides from Kansas City, that play and that would have won the game against the Bills. Now that I'm saying a whole bunch of what ifs, and I know I am. But if that offsides didn't count, the Chiefs would have did it again. But again, like when I did a pick'ems and I picked the Chiefs, it's because it's the Chiefs and that's what they do. They come out with these outlandish plays and they come back and win. Yeah. And this time it didn't work because a player was offsides. Tony was offsides. Yeah. So I yes, Ravens are one, but I still think it goes through the Chiefs. And I'm with you. If the Bills, again, if they have a great game against the Cowboys, win that one, and they get on this hot streak and going into there, I agree with you. If they get one game at home, they're definitely going on to the next round. And so I'm with that. For the NFC, so let's look at the NFC playoff picture. We know that Niners are 1, Cowboys are 2. Let's see, where are we at? Oh, and just an FYI, from the AFC, the Panthers and the Patriots are eliminated from the playoffs.
Yeah, from the NFL. They're the first 2 teams eliminated. So you got Niners, Cowboys, the Lions are 3, Buccaneers
at 6 and 7.
Your
boys at 5. Yeah.
5.
Vikings at 6 and Packers at 7.
Interesting enough that the Vikings are still in the playoff spot.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels weird to me.
It does. I think the Vikings and the Packers won't be in this conversation. I think they're just, with the quarterback change for the Vikings, the Packers, they just can't. You don't know what you're going to get out of Love and the Packers. You just don't know.
I couldn't believe they lost to the Giants.
Yeah, it's crazy. The South is up for grabs. Everybody has a losing record in the South. Again, I could see. Hey, listen, let me tell you, if old Tommy DeNick from the Giants, if he keep playing these games, dude, because the Giants play the Saints, right? NFC South. If they could get that game and they continue to win, they could sneak into the playoffs. But they got momentum now. I love watching
they
them
could
play.
easily split with my Birds because
Yeah,
they play
like
the Saints and then my Birds and then the Rams and then my Birds. They could easily split that
and be in there. Yeah, like they could still have a chance.
Yeah.
Atlanta
Yeah.
has a chance, I think. So
I think Atlanta's best chance is at winning the division, to be honest.
Yeah. They have to.
I think their best chance is winning the division, not making the.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't know who's going to win that division against. With the Bucks. But again, if you go past 1, 2. If you go, obviously because the Bucks is leading their division, they are number 4. But put the Eagles in there. Again, my boys, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles. Nobody else is going to matter in this division. The Seahawks with Geno being hurt, you don't know what you're going to get. The Saints with freaking let me tell you, this dude James Winston, he is so funny when you watch him. On like NFL whatever and just showing what I know Carr is tired of his ass. I can tell you that. Carr's like, bro, if you don't shut up and sit down somewhere. The Bears, I don't think stand a chance with anything. Funny enough, the Cardinals is like still somehow in it, but
I don't understand how.
Mathematically,
if everything goes perfectly.
But we know Panthers, Patriots eliminated. I just mentioned,
like to me, it's interesting. I think the AFC is way up for grabs.
Yeah,
and the NFC to me comes down to you got 4 teams: Niners, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles.
You still think the Lions after this?
I still think the Lions can make this.
Okay. You really and I were high on the Lions at the beginning of the year.
Listen, I picked them to make the Super Bowl, so I refuse to give up on them. And look at their schedule. It's not the easiest, but you got Broncos at home. So being at Ford Field, maybe that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm.
You got the Vikings twice and the Cowboys.
Mm.
So
those 2 Vikings could be an easy win right there, especially with the quarterback.
The Cowboys really haven't proved, aside from destroying my Birds this Sunday, they haven't proved that they can play well against good teams this year.
Will this weekend against the Bills say a lot?
It will. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think we're going to learn a lot about the Cowboys at this 4-game stretch, really, against my Birds, Bills, Dolphins, Lions.
For sure.
And honestly, the Lions might be catching them at the best time. Because if the Bills, like my Birds, if the Bills and the Dolphins games are kind of grind games, it might take a lot out of the Cowboys to where, they're playing the Lions at home, like they're playing the Lions in Jerry's world. That might be a tough game for the Cowboys. Like, they might just.
This stretch can easily put the Cowboys 5 and the Eagles 2. Like, this stretch can totally flip things around.
Yeah, especially since my boys have already beaten the Lions and the Bills.
Yeah.
So we only really need them to lose. Assuming that we can win out, which is question mark. But we only need them to lose one of those games. So it's going to get real interesting in the NFL.
It is. It's going to be good. It's going to be a good couple of weeks. Again, we'll be back for the new year. By the time the new year starts, we should be in the last week of the NFL going into the playoffs. Yeah. And so, we'll see where everybody lands. But let's continue on that conversation with the Eagles. Are you concerned with your boys? Do you think this was, again, and it's just a question right now because you know what? Everybody had that question about my boys when we had that 3-game stretch of 3 losses in a row.
It's a fair question.
Yeah. Your boys, they're on people. Obviously we gave a little blueprint when we played y'all and we know what happened there. The Cowboys came and did the same thing. Is this a rebound week to show that you guys are still who you are? Will you be concerned if you guys lost this week?
I'm already concerned. Quite quite honestly, I'll be concerned if we don't blow the Seahawks out. Even if it's a close game, it's a close win. That's going to
Are y'all
concern
home
me.
or on the road?
We're on the road.
Okay.
What concerns me most, it's not that we lost to the Cowboys and Niners. It's that we lost in a fashion where it just looked like the team gave up. Like it looked like they just came out and they were just exhausted. I think that's what a lot of Eagles fans are trying to say. We're trying to say that, we had to play the Chiefs and then the Bills and then the Niners and then the Cowboys. And granted, that's a gauntlet and we did beat the Bills and Chiefs. But when we lost to the Niners, I was like, okay, that's not great, but at least let's see how we do against the Cowboys. And then we came out and again, we were just flat.
Yeah.
And I'm a little worried that as much as I like Sirianni, it doesn't seem like he's rallying the troops. And I'm nervous. We played a lot of football in 2023. If you include our Super Bowl run, and it just seems like the team is exhausted. I mean, the fumbles on Sunday night it was ridiculous. So
yeah,
I'm concerned.
The love push, the Philly push,
that was working, but literally, you had AJ Brown catch, awesome play, fumble. Devontae Smith catch, awesome play, fumble. We had 3 fumbles.
Yeah.
You take those 3 fumbles away, we win the game. No doubt in my mind, because they were all almost all in the red zone.
I wouldn't say I'm concerned about y'all yet. Again, if you guys now Seattle is they're fighting for a playoff spot. They're going to try to play to win. And being in Seattle, that's a tough environment to play at. Mm-hmm. No matter, again, Seattle isn't oh my God, we're going to go play, the Niners or the Cowboys right now. I mean, Seattle is I would say it's probably the second or third tier down of teams to be all right, I'm going to go play them. But again, that home field advantage is always a tough place to play. If you guys come out, like you said, flat-footed, and you guys play like you did against us in the Cowboys, and you guys don't pull out this victory, then I'll be all right, it's time to turn on the emergency sirens. If you guys come and beat them like you should, I don't care if it's a close game. I don't care if it's 1-2 points, if it's a blowout. But any victory give you guys momentum, and so you'll be back on track. So you're good, So I'm not concerned about it yet. I just think the hype of them not only losing one game, which was to the Jets. Everybody was talking about how, the Eagles are unstoppable, blah, blah, blah. And we came out and we put it on y'all. Then the Cowboys was y'all beat us. We gonna put it on y'all. I feel like everybody was just bullying the Eagles now. Now, again, if they go and the Eagles were being bullied, and somebody, I forgot what I was watching, but somebody brought up was hey, the Cowboys now look completely different because they're talking about, when they beat y'all, they were man, we beat them and then we stomped them to the ground and we stomped them again and we stomped them. They was just, talking how they just beat the heck out of y'all. But you don't see that with your boys. You don't see that, that aggression, that, let's go. It's just again, to your point though, they could just be tired and exhausted. But I just want to see a little bit more we came to play and we're not leaving without a victory today, sort of thing. And I just haven't seen that from your boys. And hopefully they get that this Sunday, or and we'll see if they do.
Yeah.
So my next question would be, we're talking about the NFC right now. I want to bring it to the AFC real fast, and talk about Browning taking over for Cool Joe,
Burrow.
Burrow. Yeah. Is the weapons that the Bengals have good enough for the quarterback that they have? And again, will this continue in their favor to actually get into the playoffs? Do you think Browning can do a good enough job to keep the Bengals alive right now?
So to answer kind of part of that question, I obviously, I already gave my AFC playoff thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't think the Bengals will make it in the playoffs. I think
Okay.
Browning will keep it interesting, though.
Okay.
Listen, here's my thing about Jake Browning. And honestly, I'm gonna loop your boy into this too with Purdy.
Uh-huh.
Jake Browning was an excellent quarterback in college.
Mm-hmm.
He was the 2016 Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year. He was the quarterback of the Washington Huskies the last time and only time until this year that they made the college football playoffs.
Mm.
Like I said, it shocked me when he went undrafted. I watched a decent amount of Browning in college. I was impressed. So I think he's an efficient quarterback. I think he limits his turnovers. And yeah, he's got weapons. Obviously, Jamar Chase.
T. Higgins.
And if Joe Mixon can kind of get it going,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think he's gonna keep him in every game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Browning will be the reason the Bengals lose games, will be my ultimate point.
Okay.
So I am a fan of Jake Browning.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I think that's what it is. And the only reason I brought up this question is because sometimes when quarterbacks come in and replace that, like a Joe Burrow, it can be a little bit intimidating because, to your point, I mean, you have weapons like Higgins, like Chase, like you have these outstanding wide receivers. As the quarterback, you need to figure out how to utilize them. And look at Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson had a great game last game. 300 yards, found his receivers, managed to game everything. That came out of nowhere. Prior to that, he had the same weapons but couldn't do anything with them, and the Jets was just doing awful. They had to replace him, and then he came back. And they wasn't expecting Aaron Rodgers to go down, and Zach Wilson had to step up and use the weapons that he had, which are great weapons. Browning, again, you come in, it's intimidating probably to stand across from great wide receivers. You're like, hey, I have them, let me use them. How do I utilize them? And he has figured out a way to do it. So I think if he could continue down this path, I think that, playoffs are realistic for them. It kind of reminds me a little bit, and again, bring it back to my boy Purdy, what Purdy did last year when he came in. Nobody was expecting him to come in and do what he did. But with the 49ers having great options to throw to, just like the Bengals have, why can't Brownie do the same thing? Will we see what the Niners did last year with a back and Purdy wasn't even a backup. He was a third string. But can the Bengals take a backup quarterback and do the same thing that the 49ers did? I think so. I think, to your point, the statistics for Browning and what he was able to do, I think he has the weapons. I think the Bengals are in great hands. They could play great defense down these last 4 game stretch. I think they make some real noise going into the playoffs.
So just one last thing. I don't think Browning is Burrow. I don't think he's on the same level.
Oh, no, not at all.
Point, again, he's a very, 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 very good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And just like Brock Purdy, again, I watched Purdy in college. I watched Purdy take Iowa State, a team who I don't even think had a positive record on football this year, take him to a Big 12 championship and almost win. It's very interesting to me, and this could be a larger conversation we have on another episode. It feels like because you take a quarterback in the first round, you feel like they have to do well, and you keep forcing it when you might have a quarterback that's sitting in the wings that might be just as good. Joshua Dobbs, I know right now isn't looking great, but when he first came to Minnesota, he's another example of that. Guy wasn't a first-round pick, but in college, He was a very good quarterback that fell, down the draft board for whatever reasons, but shows that he understands how an offense should run. He took care of the ball generally well before the last couple of games, and I just see where it goes. I mean, there should be some onus on a coach and an OC to set these quarterbacks up for success.
Yeah.
So,
good point. And so let's go into something that I feel like you've been dying to talking about. I know I sent you a list of talking points about what we was going to talk about today, and you texted me, "Hey, can we include this also?" We haven't had time to talk about it because obviously, like we talked about earlier, with our jobs and what we do for a living, we're traveling. It's hard for us to do this consistently. And so we're a little late to the party. When we come back, we are definitely going to talk about what's going on in the college playoffs because they should have happened by then. And we'll talk about all of that. But the floor is yours, Joseph. Florida State. Go for it. Go for it, buddy.
it is a travesty that Florida State didn't make the college football playoff.
I'm sorry. Can you name this segment Joey's Mad or something? Just name this segment something so we can hear you go.
I want to make it perfectly clear. I am not a Florida State fan. I'm actually, if I had to pick a team in Florida, I'm a Gator at heart. But, oh my God, how do you go undefeated? 13-0, win your conference, and get left out of the college football playoffs? I don't want to hear about how Jordan Travis had an injury. If anything, that should make their case stronger. Let me take you back, Mr. Carlos.
Please do.
Let's go back. And you may or may not like this analogy. I don't know, but I'm going to roll with it. So let's go back all the way to 2017.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles having a great season. Carson Wentz, which we know what he is now, but at that time was having an MVP caliber season. He goes down and tears his
Nick Foles.
Do you think it would be justified for the NFL to step in and go, "Hey guys, I know you won both of your playoff games, but we can't let you into the Super Bowl because you did it with a backup quarterback. You did it with Nick Foles and not Carson Wentz. We think this game could be a blowout. We're going to go ahead and, give it to the Vikings, who are the runners-up." Does that make sense to you?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. I don't care that you won with a backup quarterback. I don't care that you won with a third-string quarterback. You play the game, as in the words of the mighty Herm Edwards, you play to win. Florida State won. Alabama lost to the Longhorns. Alabama needed the ultimate miracle, the greatest miracle since the kick six back in 2013, 10 years ago, to beat an Auburn team who had just gotten the spit kicked out of them by a New Mexico State team in their own stadium. And you're telling me they deserve a spot in the college football playoffs because, they beat Georgia. Who doesn't beat Georgia? Georgia, who barely beat Missouri and had a soft schedule. They took the college football playoffs, and they basically, in my mind, took college football and basically told Florida State, we don't care that you played a full season. We don't care that your students put their bodies on the line. We're going to go ahead and keep you out of the college football playoffs. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Guys, we just created a new segment. Joey's Mad. This is great. Please, let's put this in there. So I'm not going to disagree with you. I think it is a shame. I'm not going to go as hard as you, but since we are on this topic, I think you're spot on. This did happen a few weeks ago, and people are still talking about it as we speak. I think, to me, having Florida State in, because they haven't lost, having them in, and it could have been one of the best Cinderella stories we've heard, where the quarterback goes down, backup quarterback comes in, plays his butt off, leads the team. And again, this is just all talk, fantasy. But come wins the national championship, it'll be the greatest story ever told. But unfortunately, we were robbed of that story ever being told, if it was possible. The committee, I think, actually, again, they're having a lot of backlash. But what I am happy about, Joseph, that this did happen. You know why I'm happy that this happened, Joseph? Because now it shows how much BS having a committee is. And so, unfortunately, Florida State had to pay for that in order for everyone else to see that the committee is, again, this is just a whole bunch of malarkey. We all know how money plays a part in these big games, these big college places. We know you don't have a star player. We don't want you. We don't want you to be a part of anything. And it's a shame that schools like a Florida State have to go through this. But a school like Alabama, because of who their coach is and because of what they are, gets, like, oh, you're Alabama, you're Nick Saban. Hey, here you go, guys. Like, it's on the silver platter. Go for it, And so, yeah, it sucks. But again, I'm happy that it happened because it shows the change that needs to happen in college football. Next year, I believe they're going to a 12. Is it a 12?
It's either
or
8 or 12.
Yeah. So, with,
which,
a playoff,
it should have been that years ago.
Yeah, that should have happened a long time ago. We wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But again, you took the opportunity for a Florida State team that no one suspected to be where they are right now. You took their opportunity to be in a national championship. Who knows when they'll be able to get back to this? Alabama we know we'll always see. Michigan, we know we'll always see. Texas, we know we'll always see. Georgia, we know we'll always see. Florida State, they have their years. They don't have their years. We don't know. The one time that they did have it, and it was a great story, now it's been taken away, and that's because of what the committee voted. And so, yes, I 100% agree with you. I will say that, again, I'm just happy that it did happen for another reason, not because of, happy that Florida State didn't get in. I'm not. I wish they did get in. I think they deserve to be in. And I think that it should have been. I'm with you. I think Alabama should have been out, and Florida State should have been in. So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm sorry you had to go through this, Josie.
Do you know what, one of the worst parts about it is?
What's that?
Is deep in my heart, I have this just unnerving feeling that Alabama's going to win it all.
Really?
And then they get to stand up there and say, "This is why you put us in."
I don't think so. I think again, the story with what happened to Harbaugh is still going to play a part into the playoffs, and I think his team is going to play great for him and win it for him, just to prove that prove that that didn't need to happen. So I'm riding with Michigan. I think they'll win it. Again, but I wouldn't be surprised with Washington with that powered offense. Definitely wouldn't be surprised there. So, but Michigan, Alabama, I'll take Michigan for sure. Florida State, sorry. Washington, Texas.
It's just part of the vernacular because it just
No, I get it.
Mentally, you're supposed to,
Yeah, I get it. So, but I would say in championship, I'm calling it now. Michigan, Texas, in the championship game.
Yeah, I'm going to take Alabama over Washington. I
Ah,
think Washington handles Texas.
okay.
Texas is a whole nother story.
Yeah.
I technically I would say they deserve to be there. I just really don't like Texas in general. So.
Yeah. And then we will end it off with the Shohei Ohtani, the largest contract ever. I don't know if you saw a report today, but he can opt out of his contract. I don't know if you saw that. If
If
two
like there's two
execs,
executives, yeah.
gets fired or leaves or something like that, he
It's
can be like, all right,
he
well,
also deferred
he
a lot of
deferred
money.
his,
It's
yeah.
a very interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it's, you know, players don't do that these days because, again, I mean, it's all about the money. Pay me to play.
Yeah.
Ohtani is like, yo, give me my money when I retire. I don't need my money now. I'm happy with $2 million a year. I get 50 million in endorsements. I'm good. I'll play for that. And then I'll take my retirement money. My kids is good. If I don't create a star baseball player from my balls, then my kids are good doing whatever. But then also, now the Dodgers have all this free cap where they can bring in more players to come and play, more star players. My thing, and what I'll say with this, the Dodgers, Mookie Betts, Freeman, they got some good pitching. But this Ohtani signing, I don't think it's the signing that said, you know what, the next 10 years, they're going to get at least 3 or 4 rings. I would not be surprised if the Dodgers does not get 1 ring from this whole thing. And Ohtani moves on near the end of his contract somewhere else just to try to get a ring. I don't see them winning a ring at all. Not because now, huge, you know me, Yankees boy. I love my Yankees. We signed Juan Soto. I think that was a tremendous signing. I think, Ohtani is I think him being on the East Coast, on the West Coast, being closer to home as far as flying. He likes that California weather, all that stuff. That's where he wants to be. He doesn't want to go to a big market like, New York or stuff like that. Just not him. But again, he signed there because of his comfortability. I don't think he signed there because he knew without a doubt that the Dodgers was going to win a championship. I think that's what it was about. I don't see the Dodgers this year or next year. I haven't seen the favorites. So you know what? Let me think that for. I haven't seen the favorites to win the World Series next year. I don't think the Dodgers is a favorite to win the World Series, honestly. So
really, I would be shocked if they're not the number one, like them or Atlanta being the number one Vegas odds. Maybe the Rangers. Maybe like the Rangers to repeat.
Oh, that's true. It did say, it said as soon as they signed Ohtani, they moved up to the top.
Yeah,
so right now, I give you real quick, I give you the top 5: Dodgers, Atlanta, Yankees, Astros, Rangers.
They still have the Astros up there, really? That surprises me.
Yeah, and then Philly coming in the back for you.
Okay. No Diamondbacks?
No Diamondbacks, no.
That's kind of, I'm going to be honest, that's kind of disrespectful. I mean, look, I get the star talent, but the Diamondbacks made it to the World Series.
Diamondbacks are currently, if I'm doing this right, probably like 12th, 13th down the list.
And also, they have a young team. Like, they can, theoretically, in my mind, they can really only go up. But, so real quick, I agree with you, like, partially. So I think the Dodgers will get at least 1 ring. I will be shocked.
In the 10 years?
Yes.
Okay.
The one thing that will hold them back is injuries. Like Ohtani is injury prone.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think he can pitch for all of next season. I don't think he could technically pitch until 2025.
Oh, that's true. Yes,
So he's
yes,
gonna be a
yes. He's
hitter.
going to be a batter. Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
and things just happen. Baseball season's a long season. Crazy things happen. So look, there's a whole different conversation about whether athletes deserve the type of money they get. I'm not going to get into that right now. I will say for what the market stands right now, Ohtani deserves every bit of the money he got.
Two-way player.
He is a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
He's a unicorn. I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like him in our lifetime, to be honest.
We are seeing it in this lifetime.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But because, aside from Ohtani, I don't know if we'll ever see it again in our life.
Yeah, it seems like it's every 100 years because we had Babe Ruth, which we never saw it. Now Ohtani. So, yeah, we won't see it again for a long time.
Where I'm disappointed, so put aside my hate for the Dodgers and my just general disdain. Where I'm disappointed is Ohtani always came off to me as a guy who kind of broke the mold and did what he wanted. Imagine if Ohtani signed with someone like the Cincinnati Reds or the Pittsburgh Pirates, or these kind of small market teams. We've had a conversation before, kind of more with NBA about small market teams. I don't know if those teams were in the running, but to me, that would have been really cool to see him sign with a small market team. But instead, he goes to the Dodgers. He goes to an already semi-powerhouse. I expected differently from Ohtani, I guess. I didn't necessarily see that coming. I get he's comfortable with the West Coast. Fine. Then go to the Diamondbacks. Go to Seattle. Go to the soon-to-be Las Vegas Athletics. But
stay with Anaheim?
Stay with Anaheim. I'd be cool with that. I think Trout would stay with Anaheim if that happened. Now I think Trout's going to get traded. Mm-hmm. So, on a personal level, that's what disappointed me about the signing.
Yeah. I hear you. Again, unfortunately, the small markets don't have the money. Look at to your point. Look at the Diamondbacks. Look where they went with what they had. It works. But again, another great example, John Rahm with the PGA going to LIV. All that talk of him saying, I'll never go to LIV. You can't play golf on 3 rounds. And no, it's a stupid format. 3 years later, he's like, they're like, hey, I'm with LIV, guys. Like, bro, what? You just told me you wasn't leaving, right? And so money talks. It sucks that small market teams don't get the value of great players. It will take a certain player to do that, to make that change. I would say the closest thing that we've seen is Damian Lillard staying with Portland and trying, and then eventually go to Milwaukee, which is not a big town either, but they have superstar players or a player on that team. Okay.
So can I ask you something real fast?
Yeah.
Before I lose my train of thought. So staying with baseball, with the same sport.
Yeah.
What do you think about Corey Seager and Marcus Semien signing with the Rangers? Would you consider that a semi-small market sign?
No, because I think Texas, the Rangers, the Rangers is a big market team. They just wasn't bringing big market players.
Because that was another team I thought about Ohtani signing with.
I
came to the Rangers.
Yeah, he could have came to the Rangers. I think that would have been, okay. It would have been. I would have hated it because now we gotta, deal with him. If we ever got to the championship,
ALCS.
But the ALCS. I think, unfortunately, again, I don't think in the world, I don't want to say the world, but where we at right now as far as sports, money is talking right now. 10 years, 700 million. Like, honestly, I knew it was going to be a big number, but I had no idea it was going to be $700 million. Dog, it just sounds stupid. I wish I was like a math genius right now. I really do wish I was, because I want to break that down to, so he bats 3 to 4 times a game. There's 162 games. How many swings does it take for him to earn $70 million in 1 year? Let's go to pitching. When he starts pitching back in 2025, he probably starts 20, 25 games maximum. How many pitches does he have to throw to make $70 million? Dude, this is ridiculous, dude. This is unbelievable.
So the way to look at it, I'm not good at math, so I put on my calculator. So let's say he bats the max of 4 times, all 162 games. That's 648 bats. But what you're really paying for is you're paying for the home runs. So how many, so it comes down to how many home runs did he have?
Let's say he hits 45.
So divided by 45. That's 14 bats a game. I don't know. It's not a lot.
So take this. So let's take this. Since you have a calculator, take 70 million and divide it by 45. That's how much they're paying him to hit 1 home run.
They're paying him $1.55 million
to hit 1 home run. That's ridiculous, dude.
You give me 100 tries, I bet I would hit at least 1 for 1.5.
Dude, this is ridiculous. But hey, like you said, he's a unicorn. We probably never see it again. He set the standard for unicorn players that down the line. And so yeah, I mean, again, it's mind-boggling. It sounds ridiculous, but I mean, because of the player, you can't. Again, this is not a Deshaun Watson situation. That was the dumbest contract ever.
Oh my god!
This contract is just you know what? It's $700 million. It is ridiculous, but it makes sense, for that type of player. The fact that he deferred it is even more mind-boggling. He's just, again, this dude is he's just on another level, and so you got to respect it. But man, yeah. So great way to end the podcast.
What do you not real fast want to talk about MVPs?
Oh yeah, we can. I mentioned it a little bit earlier.
Football talk kind of finished.
Yeah, no, we can get back to it real quick. We can end it with that. Again, I'm not gonna go against my boy. I think Purdy is gonna take the MVP. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if Dak wins it. If Dak, I can tell you this much: if Dak has a great game against the Bills, in the Dolphins, down his stretch, if he's consistent, he's the MVP. But if he has downfall and Brock continues to be consistent, then Brock wins the MVP. But I'm going to take Brock because that's my boy. I'm not going to go against my boy.
So I agree, assuming barring any catastrophe and the Niners lose the rest of their games, which I don't see happening. I think Brock wins MVP.
Okay.
I think CJ Stroud.
Oh yes, that's what made me laugh so hard. Go ahead.
Even though he has the concussion, let's say the Texans don't even make the playoffs, I think he deserves MVP. So ultimately, it comes down to when we think of MVP, what do we think? So when I hear MVP, when I hear MVP, I think most valuable player to their team. So here's my deal with Brock. I like Brock. I respect Brock. I'm going to keep reiterating it. I watched Brock in college. I watched him lead Iowa State to a Big 12 championship. Let's not forget that 4 short years ago, Jimmy Garoppolo took reasonably the same Niners team minus McCaffrey to a Super Bowl. And now they've added McCaffrey. If you took Brock Purdy away, do you honestly think in your heart that the Niners are significantly worse without Brock Purdy?
Significantly worse? No. But again, we had to go through 2 quarterbacks to get to Brock Purdy. Just saying.
So now let's look at the Texans. I love what D'Amico's done. I respect.
I am too. I think
loved
he's
him when
coach of the year
when he was on the. Yeah, I agree with you. I loved what he did when he was a linebacker with the Eagles. But CJ Stroud has totally changed with that team. I mean, we're talking about a team that had 2 wins, 3 wins last year, maybe. Was the number 2 pick in the overall draft. CJ Stroud's got him in every single game. To me, that's an MVP. Like, if you consistently put your team in the place to win and you know you always have a shot, to me, that's what an MVP is. And that's why I think CJ Stroud deserves MVP. I like you take Stroud away, that's probably another 3 or 4 loss team, I think. And we'll see if he misses time due to this concussion. We're going to see. And if anything, to me, that strengthens his MVP case.
Okay. So
that's why I think CJ Stroud's the MVP.
Okay, so let me go down this list real quick. So you're telling me that CJ Stroud should be MVP over Dak, Purdy,
oh yeah,
Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen,
yes,
Tyreek Hill.
Oh yeah, Tyreek Hill,
Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
Tua.
Oh my God. Hold on. Yes. So
Christian McCaffrey.
Oh come on! You're putting me against like my favorite NFL
I'm
player of all
just
time.
because again you're telling me because I'm saying if we take away could you just say if we take away Stroud things change. If we take away any of these players, the same thing happens.
I disagree.
If you take away Purdy and you put in Donald, it's going to continue to flow the same.
Not the same, but okay. So now
you take away Lamar Jackson, what's going to happen?
Right now, San Francisco is 10-3. You take away Purdy and you leave McCaffrey, you leave Samuel, you leave Ayuk. We haven't even talked about defense. You leave Fred Warner. You leave Bosa.
Dude.
Okay.
Let me say. I'm glad you said that.
Okay.
Let me say something real quick. Then I'll let you finish because it's on my mind. Purdy got hurt against your boys. You took him away. What happened?
That's not a fair comparison. You're comparing Josh Johnson.
It's still a backup. It's still a backup.
Dude. Josh Johnson's like almost $1 million in quarterbacking. Listen, I am not saying that Sam Darnold will be the same as Brock Purdy. What I'm saying is right now they're 10-3. You take Purdy away, I think you add 3 more losses. They have 6 losses, so that would put them at what?
11-6.
7-6. Because you got to if you're taking away.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought she was adding on to. Sorry. Okay.
No, you're good. Yeah. So 7-6. You take CJ Stroud away from a 7-6 Houston team, which technically there is a possibility they could be 8-5 because he got injured early on in the game. You're looking at like a 3-win team.
So now, okay. So let's take I'm glad you said that too. So you're telling me that DeMeco Ryan don't get any credit for having his team at 7-6. CJ Stroud gets all the credit.
That's not what I'm saying.
Yes, you just said you take away
that is
him.
not what I'm saying.
3 and whatever.
No, because you're discrediting. So D'Amico Ryans, in my mind, is a defensive-minded coach. CJ Stroud is the one that has that offense humming. So
it's CJ who will get them to these 7 victories, not D'Amico.
Yes. Yes. Because look at this. Look at this. Okay, let's look at this.
Oh my God.
So,
this guy here.
They beat the Jags. They blew them out 37-17. That's probably a combination of Stroud and Ryan. 30-6 against the Steelers, probably a combination of Stroud and Ryans. They lost to the Falcons.
That loss to the Falcons, is that on D'Amico or is that on CJ?
Well, they gave 21 points. I would say that's on CJ because they lost 21-19. Hold on. You beat the Buccaneers 39-37. That's a close game. CJ Stroud, putting together a game-winning drive. What else you got here? They beat the Bengals 30-27. Probably CJ. They beat the Cardinals 21-16. Probably CJ. The Broncos game. CJ, I'm telling you, man, CJ led a drive in the fourth quarter of the Broncos game to put them up 22-10. So, okay, so I'll throw it back to you. So Brock Purdy, how much of that is on Kyle Shanahan and his offense?
That's all on Kyle.
So then how are you naming Brock Purdy as the MVP? How are you naming him as the MVP?
No, what I'm saying is that the way that Brock flowing, so Cal is calling D'Amico or Cal, it doesn't matter who, is saying run this play. It takes now I'm not saying CJ is not talented. I think he's the offensive rookie of the year without a doubt, right? But what Purdy is doing in a much, again, with the talent that the 49ers have on defense and on offense, to have somebody coach-wise manage that and quarterback-wise manage that. Okay, let's use another great example. The Chargers. Bad coach, good quarterback. And look where they're at right now. So is Justin Herbert the MVP? If you take away Justin Herbert,
I would never claim Justin Herbert's the MVP.
That's what I'm saying. If you take away Justin Herbert from that, does it make them worse or make them better? It doesn't matter because their coach is horrible.
Their coach is also a defensive-minded coach, though. That's not a fair comparison.
But they're still losing even on
Kyle
defense.
Shanahan's an offensive-minded coach. And it's interesting that I'm glad you brought up, my best
friend.
Allegedly. I'm trying. I'll never stop trying. A lot of their losses is because of the defense. Herbert, for the most part, and their offense, Keenan Allen is having a career year.
He's the only one.
Even at his old age. Their defense was giving them no help. And that falls on Staley because Staley was brought in as a defensive savant. So I don't know, man. I get what you're saying, but I don't agree with it. That's not
okay. All right, hey, we agree to disagree.
To me, a better comparison would be the Dolphins, because you got Mike Daniels, who's an offensive-minded coach, and now you got Tua, and you've got Tyree. And they put up 70 on the Broncos, but they somehow lose to the Titans.
Mm-hmm. And again, it was a last-minute sack.
Tua didn't have a good game.
Yeah, I'm about to say, he didn't.
He's my fantasy quarterback.
He didn't have a good game at all. I mean, but okay, let's go back to your boy. They just lost. Who did they just lose to?
Well,
he had the concussion.
He had to leave the game early. Wait, are you talking about Stroud or
Stroud?
Herbert? I'm a little confused now.
Stroud.
Oh, Stroud. Okay, so Stroud, they lost.
Who did they lose to just now? It was a horrible team.
It wasn't a good team. I admit to that. The Jets. They got blown out by the Jets.
Okay, so and that concussion didn't happen until late in the game. So you have to. So good MVP players beat teams that matters. You beat the Eagles. You beat the Cowboys. You blow out the best teams. That's what an MVP
I'm glad
does.
you said that. However, the Texans going into the fourth quarter when Stroud was already out with a concussion, they were only losing 14-6.
They still lost, Joey. Okay? They should have been in the lead when he got that concussion. All right? Thank you. Just saying.
So are you telling me if Christian McCaffrey was on the Texans, that the Texans wouldn't only have like 3 losses and they wouldn't be the 10-3 team right now?
No, he's a game changer. I think
it's just there's too much talent on the Niners to sit there and tell me that he's the MVP. CJ Stroud.
So let's look at okay, let's talk about it in NBA terms. Super teams where you have let's say for the Nets when they had Garnett and Pierce and this and that, when they had Harden, when they had KD, when they had Kyrie. You put all these great players in there, but if you don't have somebody to quarterback it and manage it, it goes to crap. Purdy, he has all this great talent around him, and he's managing all this great talent. That is what MVP does.
He also is an offensive guru as a head coach.
But again, the coach, it's up to the coach to make sure that the quarterback or, for example, the point guard gets this information and can distribute the ball correctly. It's up to that point guard / quarterback to make sure that happens. Not everybody can do that. In the high, especially in the NFC.
Jimmy Garoppolo do it with
because but just seeing it like Jimmy Garoppolo was a scrub. Jimmy Garoppolo can ball. Unfortunately, he got injured. No, okay. Why can't Jimmy Garoppolo ball? He didn't have a huge arm. He wasn't turnover prone. He was injury prone. I get it. I'm with you. I think he was injury prone. Unfortunately, in those big moments, he did not succeed as far as winning the championship. He took us to promised land. He got us to the playoffs a few times. He was a good quarterback, dude. Like, you're saying it like he was a scrub.
The only reason I bring up Jimmy is because I don't, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't ever remember hearing Jimmy's name come up in the MVP conversation when he was with the Niners.
No, you're absolutely right, because you know what? There were players, again, at that time, like the Mahomes, like the Josh Allens, that was throwing like 5,000 yards. Nobody was throwing numbers like that, dude. That was all about numbers, though.
I'm glad you brought up numbers. So if we look at offensive leaders right now, do you know who number 1 is?
Dak.
It's actually Tua. Do you know who number 2 is? Number 2 is CJ Stroud.
But in what? In yards? In what?
In yards.
Okay. What about everything?
Purdy, and then it's Purdy, and then it's Prescott, then it's Sam Howell, which
Sam Howell has a better QBR than Mahomes. Because
that is weird to me.
Yeah. So okay. Who you talking about in yardages, which I get it, but it's not like 5,000 yards. I mean, what are they in the 3,000 yards? 4,000 maybe?
CJ Stroud's beating Purdy by over 100 yards. I mean, it's close. I'll give you that.
Oh, my God. It's okay, close. So now factor in every other statistic after that.
Also factor in the players. Brock Purdy Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey.
Again, yes, I get that, but you have to manage these great players. It takes a special someone to do that.
CJ Stroud's making Nico Collins look like
because they're on the same level. They're out there playing because it feels feels like to them that they're out there playing flag football as best friends together, which is great.
Dameon Pierce has been injured most of the year. So a running back who is supposed to be like on the precipice of being elite for the Texans hasn't even played most of the year. And CJ Stroud is balling. Man,
I wasn't gonna have a drink tonight, but you're gonna make me drink tonight, dude.
Here's something. So Tua's number one in yards. CJ Stroud, Tua Tagovailoa has 3,697 passing yards. CJ Stroud, 3,631. That's not even a 100-yard difference.
Okay.
I'm telling you, man, like CJ Stroud, what he had. I guess ultimately we're going to disagree on the idea of what an MVP is. And I think the record that the Texans have ultimately hurts CJ Stroud being at 7-6. But I know in my heart, CJ Stroud is the MVP.
So can I read this real quick and can we end it here?
You go for it.
As my last Purdy rant, okay? Through 14 weeks, Brock Purdy is third in the league in passing yards, which you said. Second in the league in touchdowns. 7 interceptions. Ready for this? He leads the NFL in completion percentage, passer rating, total QBR, yards per completion, and yards per attempt. Where's CJ Stroud in all of those other numbers?
I do not know where CJ Stroud is.
He's not near Brock Purdy, I can tell you that much. Besides throwing the ball a whole bunch, which, okay, I get it. I'm with it. But everything else that Purdy does for the Niners makes him an MVP. I'm not saying, again, I think he should win, but I'm just going to say makes him the MVP candidate behind Dak Prescott right now because Dak Prescott is throwing the ball like crazy and all this other stuff. But
I mean, the next games are going to deter like right now.
Lot. Yeah, for sure.
Because I book a lot of that on. I don't think the Cowboys have played enough competitive opponents, and when they do, aside with the Eagles being the outlier, Dak doesn't do too like the Cowboys as a team don't do too well when they play competitive opponents.
All right. Well, we will find out in a few in a month or so which one of us, if CJ Stroud will be ready.
I mean, look, I know CJ Stroud's not going to win it. I'm just saying, I think he deserves.
No, you're vouching for him. I get it. Hey, I respect it. I do, Joey. I'm giving you a hard time. Yes, I respect what you're doing with this. I think it's ridiculous. Yes. But I respect you for going for the little man, Joey. You go ahead. Fight the power, Joseph. Fight the power. Make a change. Get Florida State in the playoffs,
oh
goddammit.
My God, Florida State. How are they not in the playoffs? Okay. You know
Joe,
what? You brought Florida State up. Let's take last year. Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. Nobody in their right mind knew what Brock Purdy was going to bring to the table. What if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt and he wins the NFC Championship game and the NFL goes, sorry, guys, that's a third-string quarterback. That's absurd. To win the game.
It's so funny, dude.
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
funny.
It's so frustrating.
I see. Oh, man. Well, unfortunately, we have to wrap this up, Joseph. The last episode of the year. Yes. It was an honor and a privilege to do this podcast with you this year. I look forward. Yeah, I look forward to 2024 of even bigger podcasts. More people will start following us, Joey. Don't worry. We're gonna get some.
I just enjoy doing it.
Yeah. I do too, man. I really do. To everybody who's been following us, the 3 or 4 loyal listeners, we love you guys. Thank you guys for riding with us. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, Instagram, Socratic Sports 22. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. We will be back in 2024 with some more great content. Hopefully, like a new design, some new intro, just a lot of things, just expanding this platform and see what it brings. We will bring in a new year again, talking about the playoffs, where we at in the MVP race, just look forward to another great year, man. Really do. But until then, Joseph, if you could play us out one last time for 2023.
Here we go.
Woo! Peace, guys.
So much sooner than I thought.